When they showed up at the door, I said, oh my God. And I said, they did. They killed my boy. And the nurse, she called me. And then she started apologizing. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I really didn't understand what she was saying. And I said, what are you talking about? Why are you so sorry? And she said, ma'am, I was checking on Andre. He complained that he had a headache. And I gave him aspirin or something to kind of get rid of the headache. And she told me that she kept checking up on her and checking up on him. But then the last time she checked up on him, he wasn't responding. She didn't tell me he was dead. She didn't tell me that. She told me the ambulance carried him to the hospital. And I thought I was doing the right thing by letting them take him in these programs. And they were supposed to be training him, his moods, his attitude and things, teaching about life. And then next thing you know, none of that stuff that they say they were going to do for him, it didn't help him. It really didn't help him. And I think I would have been better off if he probably would have stayed home. Because then he would have been in the street, but then he would, and he got there till somebody killed him. But to have him die like he did, that was, oh. Now they paid for the funeral, but they wouldn't pay for no headstone. So he's still out there in the cemetery with no headstone. So I'm waiting till maybe I get some money or something, and I have that put on the grave so it won't be just like they just throw it in there, And he didn't mean too much.
They weren't faking, 12 young detainees who died while under Florida's care. By Carol Marvin Miller and Audra D.S. Birch. CMA Arbin at miamiherald.com. LinkedIn. Google+. Pinterest. Reddit. Print. Order reprint of this story. October 10, 2017, 9 a.m. Whether because of bad policies, bad decision-making, bad health care, or abusive staff, Florida's juvenile justice system has experienced sporadic deaths. Here is a timeline. February 5, 2000, Michael Wiltsey, 12. What Michael needed most was mental health treatment. What he got was the full weight of a 300-pound man on top of him, making it impossible to breathe. In a lawsuit, Michael's mother, Linda Ibarra, said that staff at Camp Ekelatu in Marion County insisted Michael be removed cold turkey from his psychiatric medication, and that he was given no therapeutic services to cope with his bipolar disorder and behavioral problems. Investigations concluded Michael, a willowy boy at only 66 pounds, died of asphyxia after being held in a full-body restraint by a counselor. Michael kept yelling that he could not breathe, a death review said. The counselor said he remained on top of the boy anyway, because he believed the child was playing possum. Ibarra learned of the incident from hospital staff, as the program did not make any attempts to notify her that Michael had been gravely hurt, the Department of Children and Families Death Review said. Prosecutors said they could not find evidence that the counselor acted with utter disregard for Michael's safety, and so declined to file charges. Ibarra never recovered from the boy's death. 6 years later, she took her own life and that of her other son, 7-year-old Lorenzo. She was so broken. It just broke my heart. I felt horrible for Lorenzo. He needed his mom, and she wasn't there for him. She couldn't be. Linda Ibarra's lawyer, Guy Rubin, to the Miami Herald. October 14, 2000, Anthony Dumas, 15. Anthony hanged himself with a leather belt from his bunk bed at a Broward County Juvenile Justice Shelter. A caregiver might have saved his life by cutting him down. Instead, she snapped pictures to document events as he suffocated. Police reports said 3 staff members were on duty that night at the Lipman Youth Shelter, which had operated unlicensed for 4 years, and all failed to cut him down. Dumas. Anthony Dumas. Anthony, still alive, was not released from his noose until police arrived, and officers were shocked to see him still tethered to his belt. Anthony died after 4 months in a coma. 3 youth counselors were ordered fired by the Department of Juvenile Justice, and the counselor with the Polaroid camera was convicted of child neglect. She was under house arrest for a year. At the counselor's sentencing, Anthony's father said it would be hard for him to forgive the workers who failed to give aid to his dying son. "The only time we get to see Anthony now is at the gravesite," said Walter Dumas. A prosecutor suggested the counselor perform community service at the cemetery, an idea that a Broward judge rejected. He wasn't supposed to die. He was supposed to come home. Shirley Finley, Anthony's mother, to the Herald 3 days after her son succumbed to his coma. October 30, 2001, Sean Smith, 13. Sean was supposed to be under close watch as a suicide risk, but he was able to take his life anyway. He was found in his cell at the Volusia Regional Detention Center with a sheet tied to his neck and to the door of his cell. Under DJJ protocols, lockup officers were required to observe him every 5 minutes. Sean_Smith. Sean Smith. When the agency's Inspector General's office looked into Sean's death, investigators learned that the surveillance tapes were gone, making it difficult to determine whether the boy had been properly supervised. The investigation concluded that 9 lockup officers failed to abide by suicide prevention policies, 3 were suspended, and a 4th was fired. May 31, 2003, Daniel "Danny" Matthews, 17. Danny and another youth had traded insults all day from cells at the Pinellas County Regional Juvenile Detention Center. When a guard mistakenly opened the 2 detainees' doors, the 2 squared off in a hallway. Matthews. Daniel Matthews. Danny struck first, according to the boy who hit him. After the 2 exchanged punches, Danny collapsed on the floor. He died of blunt head trauma, either from a blow to his temple or the fall that resulted. A senior detention officer was fired and an assistant superintendent was suspended. Danny's mother later said she had agreed to have her son arrested when he pushed her at home. He was abusing drugs and had become volatile. "I finally had my son arrested so he could get help, and now he's dead. I don't care what the kid did. There's no reason for this." Diana Matthews, to the St. Petersburg Times, on June 2, 2003. June 9, 2003, Omar Paisley, 17. It took authorities at the Miami Regional Juvenile Detention Center 3 days to treat Omar's worsening appendicitis. It was 1 day too many. Omar had complained to nurses and guards that he was sick and in excruciating abdominal pain. He wept and retched and moaned, curled in a fetal position. "Man, someone needs to get down here, because this kid is sick," an officer implored over the telephone. But 2 nurses and a platoon of officers waited days before summoning help, as their supervisors said they lacked the authority to call for an ambulance. Some of the officers and nurses thought Omar was faking. Omar Paisley. Omar Paisley. CBS 4. Omar's death came to symbolize what lawmakers at a series of hearings called the culture of neglect within DJJ. 25 DJJ employees, including Secretary William Bill Bankhead and the lockup superintendent, either resigned or were fired, and the 2 nurses were charged with third-degree murder. One pleaded guilty to culpable negligence and was sentenced to a year's probation. Prosecutors dropped charges against the second nurse. Nearly 15 years later, grand jury forewoman Constance Portela, a Miami businesswoman, still recoils. Animals are treated better, she told the Herald. This is not something that will go away. This is a scar. The wound may heal, but the scar is there to remind you. Cherry Williams, Omar's mother, to the Herald in November 2004. October 13, 2005, Willie Durden, 17. Willie was described as a model inmate who aspired to be a youth counselor. The counselor who was supposed to be his role model instead watched him die. Just after 4 a.m., a youth worker at Cypress Creek Juvenile Offender Correctional Center heard a gurgling sound coming from Willie's room. The guard and his supervisor waited 20 minutes before summoning help or beginning CPR, all the while yelling at the kid to wake up, the supervisor told investigators. The worker explained his inaction this way: some of these kids will play pranks. An autopsy concluded that Willie died of ventricular arrhythmia, due to an enlarged and diseased heart. How do you hire for common sense? Would you wait 20 minutes if this were your child? Nancy Hamilton, then president of the State Juvenile Justice Association, asked the Herald on August 21, 2006, when a report on the boy's death was released. A youth in the room next to Willie's told DJJ that the teen had been making the best of his stay at the program, and had encouraged other boys to turn their lives around, as well. I think my purpose in life is dealing with children to let them know where I've been and how I turned my life around by fulfilling my purpose on earth. Willie Durden, in a book report days before he died, as reported in the Herald. January 6, 2006, Martin Lee Anderson, 14. Martin was sent to the Bay County boot camp for joyriding in his grandmother's Jeep. He left the same day, in an ambulance. The teen had been ordered by drill instructors to run laps around a track. He said he couldn't run anymore. The officers accused him of malingering, and they punished him with a violent takedown. Martin Lee Anderson. Martin Lee Anderson. Bay County Sheriff's Office AP. Almost a half hour after the guards began the restraint, which included punches to his arms and knee jabs, Martin stopped breathing. An autopsy by a Tampa medical examiner appointed by a special prosecutor later determined that the boy was suffocated when guards held his mouth shut and repeatedly shoved ammonia tabs up his nose. Throughout the takedown, a nurse stood by and watched. The grainy videotape of the restraint released following a suit by the Herald shocked the state. This could be anybody's son, a Miami lawmaker said. The restraint that shocked Florida. Martin Lee Anderson, 14, is fatally manhandled at Bay County boot camp as a nurse watches. After he was unable to run a track, he endured punches, knee jabs, and pressure points, and died from having ammonia capsules jammed up his nose. Florida Department of Juvenile Justice. 7 guards and the nurse were charged with manslaughter but later acquitted. Then Gov. Charlie Crist signed the Martin Lee Anderson Act, which closed all military-style boot camps that used physical violence and pain to force compliance with rules. Martin was just trying to do what he was told to do. But he passed out and they still beat him. They tortured him. Robert Anderson, Martin's father, to the Herald in March 2007, when Governor Crist offered the family $5 million in compensation. June 17, 2006, Dylan Tyler Peak, 14. Dylan was hospitalized twice in 4 days during his stay at the Peace River Outward Bound Wilderness Camp in DeSoto County. He developed a high fever, about 104 degrees, and was hospitalized with strep throat, then released back to the program. His caregivers were told to treat him with over-the-counter medication. A few days later, he woke up groggy and disoriented, a statement said, and he was returned to the hospital having seizures. He apparently died of a severe case of encephalitis. His mother sued Outward Bound, claiming he was not given proper medical care. The suit was settled out of court. This is quite sad. The student was at our facility for about 6 months, had completed almost all of his goals. He was due for release in a couple of weeks. Statement from the program to a state lawmaker. July 10, 2011, Eric Perez, 18. Perez marked his 18th birthday at the Palm Beach Juvenile Detention Center. He'd been sent there after officers spotted a broken light on his bike and arrested him for a small amount of marijuana. The night before he died, a guard dropped him on his skull during what investigators described as horseplay. In the hours that followed, he retched, hallucinated, and complained of monstrous head pain. Eric Perez. Eric Perez. Staff sought guidance from a nurse, but she didn't return calls. Video footage, never released, depicted Perez's limp body being dragged on a mat from his room to a common area of the lockup and then back again, a sign that officers thought he was ill and were worried he might infect other detainees. Records indicate lockup supervisors and the superintendent instructed subordinates not to call 911. By the time paramedics were summoned, Perez showed only a flat line on a heart monitor. He died of a cerebral hemorrhage. Then DJJ Secretary Wansley Walters fired 6 lockup employees, saying, "We will not tolerate employees who violate policies and procedures that are in place to protect the health and welfare of our youth." They killed him in there. Just because he made mistakes doesn't mean they have the right to take his life away. Maritza Perez, Eric's mother, to the Herald, in the days after Eric died. December 8, 2011, Daniel Huerta, 17. Daniel was loaded into a Ford Expedition for a trip back to his wilderness camp from a sporting event. He never arrived. His driver, Johnson Attillard, swerved off a roadway while making a turn in Collier County. The SUV crashed into a traffic sign before plunging into a canal. Daniel Huerta. Daniel Huerta. Daniel drowned, as did Attillard, who had been ordered away from the steering wheel of any AMIKIDS company vehicle. Police and troopers had ticketed him 18 times in the 5 years before the crash, including infractions for speeding, driving an unsafe car, making an improper turn and running a red light. He'd also been charged with giving alcohol to a minor. Attillard was driving with a suspended license that night. The Florida Highway Patrol said he was speeding and talking on his cell phone. Big Cypress Insurance will not cover you. Failure to abide by these restrictions places AMIKIDS Big Cypress in a position of great liability. February 1, 2011, memo from Big Cypress Director to Johnson Attillard, months before the crash. February 19, 2015, Andre Sheffield, 14. Andre complained for days of a headache and stomach pain, soiled himself, limped, lost his balance and fell down. A nurse gave him Tylenol. He died of bacterial meningitis. A DJJ report on the boy's death said the Brevard Juvenile Detention Center violated agency rules regarding the treatment of sick detainees, though details of Andre's final hours remain sketchy. Detainees said Andre had complained repeatedly of leg, stomach, head, and neck pain. The youth said he was trembling and limping around the module. Officers insisted Andre exhibited no signs of distress until shortly before he died. Andre Sheffield. Andre Sheffield. The 50-page report also faulted the lockup's top officer for failing to ensure that officers under her command were properly trained in agency sick call procedures. She was suspended for 5 days. A nurse who was faulted for failing to follow a medical protocol for diagnosing abdominal pain was fired when she refused to cooperate with an investigation. Andre was a fine, loving kid. He smiled all the time. He was anxious to get home and play with the family's new puppies. Berlina Sheffield, Andre's grandmother, who raised him, to the Herald when DJJ released its report on his death. 2402. 256. Dying youth begged for medical help. He didn't get it. Andre Sheffield ached, trembled, limped, and finally defecated on himself at the Brevard juvenile lockup. Nobody paid him much mind until he died of bacterial meningitis. Emily Mitchett Mitchett at MiamiHerald.com. August 31, 2015, Elord Revolt, 17. When Elord died, his possessions were being stored in a black garbage bag on the back patio of a Miami Beach foster home. His short-lived foster mom asked a caseworker to retrieve them. In one of the bags was a notepad with penciled verses, "Son of God. I'm just a brother," one of them ended. Revolt. Elord Revolt. In his last months, Elord caromed from the home of a cousin to an aunt to a lockup to foster care and into the streets of South Beach. Back at the Miami Detention Center on armed robbery charges, Elord was beaten to death by at least a dozen teens. Cause of death, blunt force injury of head, neck, and chest. Video of the assault shows a huddle of teens in khaki pants punching and kicking Elord. One officer pulled the initial aggressor off him while another called for help on a radio. But more than a minute elapsed before officers were able to rescue Elord, and by then the damage was done. A vein beneath his left collarbone slowly seeped blood until he collapsed. 24:25. 1:23. Death of a young detainee. Cameras at the Miami-Dade Regional Juvenile Detention Center show the fatal beating of 17-year-old Elord Revolt from two angles. He ends up in a heap on the floor after more than a dozen boys, without warning, punched and stomped him for more than a minute. The state attorney's office said the poor quality of the video equipment hampered its ability to hold anyone accountable. Florida Department of Juvenile Justice. Two youths told prosecutors the attack was a setup, and that a staffer ordered that Elord be punished for not following orders during dinner. In part because surveillance video was of poor quality, no one was charged in Elord's killing. They took him alive and now they are giving me a corpse. Enoch Revolt, Elord's father, to the Herald, on September 4, 2015.
Need a car? Don't forget to stop by carmarshal.com where you can scout through over 100,000 new and used car vehicles. Take a look around. Get you a new affordable car. carmarshal.com.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I found that I had to make a change this ending on my videos, letting you know about the channel and fair use laws, you know, how we can report on other people's reporting and how it's good, how it's bad, etc. But you guys can look it up yourself. It is legal. It's in there. But like I've told you before, that I've been cut off from making money on YouTube for 4 years. It's really weird, bizarre, but they cut the money off, but they said you can keep the channel, and now YouTube makes all the money. And if you get bored, plug it into Social Blade website, and you'll see that they are making a huge amount off the site. Right now it's at 63 million views, 53,000 subscribers, almost 3 million views a month. You know, trying to wake people up, and I make nothing. In fact, I got a customer that's ex-congressman. He said if I could ever find a lawyer, sue YouTube on it. But because this is nuts, 4 hours a day, and to save America, you know. But at the same time, it's worth it. Look at what our founding fathers did. They died for this country. So But getting back to the money part, this is why I'm redoing the video. Is my dream of everyone giving $1, and it's going to be $53,000 a year, or if they did Patreon, which you know, can be monthly. That is not working. That'd be great if it did. Nothing is perfect. And I appreciate the people that do donate, you know, what they can on PayPal. And there again, I'm letting you guys know that is not much. Is, you know, monthly is, oh my god. So anyways, yes, you cannot live on it. It's very, very, very low amount. But the dollar things, I do appreciate that. But when I first said everybody give $1, that's not working. I'm just letting you guys know it's, yeah, that dream. Everybody gives $1. 53,000 subscribers, it's not working. So, yes, if you can give more than that, you know, I appreciate it. Like I said, you know, I'm in a unique situation where, you know, what we're already debt free, and I'm not rich, but with the little business that we have, I am able to do what I am able to do 45 hours a day, you know, letting you guys know what's going on. In 4 years, I've did the whole thing myself. 12,000 videos on there. I literally get emails where people are like, holy crap, I never knew it was this bad. And it is this bad, and it's getting worse every day because we have the internet, we have cell phones, we have cameras everywhere now, and it's just disgusting what's going on. And then, as you guys know too, now we got Trump, we got Jeff Sessions doing a war on drugs, and now he wants to go after the forfeiture laws again. It's just unfreaking real. So, if you can give more than that dream of everybody giving $1, yeah, that old video, that's not working. They're not, they're just not. So anyways, if you can give more than that dream is not working. Hardly anybody is giving. There you go. So that's why I'm remaking the video. If you can give more than that, that would be great. And there again, like I said, the Patreon's there. There is some people on there that are starting to give, but there again, it's very, very low. And like I said, I don't want to get rich off of that. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because, you know, it's still so stinking corrupt. It's not even funny. My court case that I'm going to be paying out of my pocket myself with Charlotte County's coming up. They illegally looked me up and then posted all my information on LEOAFFAIRS website. They basically doxed me, however you want to say that. I forget what the word is. And they outed me, man. And that information on that site went out to 500 sheriffs, deputies, people that work at the jail, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, it is very, very scary, but we're going to do a federal case, 1983 case, violating freedom of speech. We have 17 cameras in the house now. We got 2 cameras in the car. I always carry a camera plus a cell phone. A lot of people are highly recommending I get a vest now. If I could, if the wife would let me, I would run for sheriff. We are trying to push the thing nationwide right now, where just to mix it up and to get the topics out there is register to run for sheriff, NPA, no party affiliation, as a write-in, and that is completely free, and you can participate in the elections. And there's a lot of stuff. We got a guy, James McLinnis in Pinellas County, Tampa, who almost won. He experienced the corruption himself. The story is unbelievable. Look him up. It's mind-blowing what they did. It pissed him off. He is very, very smart. He has way more money than I did. He ran for sheriff at the last 3 months last year in 2016 and almost won. He got all of the black vote. And the reason why he did that is because he ran in, I will not bust, we're in Florida, I will not bust anybody for weed anymore unless it's an ungodly huge amount, like pounds. And then he also ran in no more victimless crimes, no more of this freaking road pirate bull crap. And then he was going to cut the budget by 30%. And when you think about that, you can. If you stop the road pirates, you can get rid of a bunch of people. Gone. So, the wife has been saying, yes, I can, yes, I can't. So I don't know. We're trying to find somebody that can do it because I am busy doing this anyways. But, so I'm making a video, like I said, that $1 a month from everybody, you know, for 53,000 subscribers. That is not working. I'm just letting you guys know. absolutely give way more than $1 a month. If you can, I appreciate anything. By the way, remember too, when you give that, PayPal takes like freaking 15 to 20%, so it's even worse than that. But and there again, like I'm letting you guys know, it's way what I get is very, very low. Appreciate it, but it is very, very low. Can't live on it. I'm just, you know, I'm working, and that's what I'm working on. And that court case is going to cost a buttload of money. That's federal court. Just the filing fees and the depositions that we're going to be doing with this corrupt cop. So there's another reason to give. We are going to be doing a deposition with this very corrupt. He was in a drug squad. He is a bad guy. He's on steroids. We heard steroids are rampant here. That's why their attitude is so bad. And we are going to get him on video, and it will be on YouTube. So that case alone is $5,000 just to bring it to court, and that's my money out of my pocket. So there's another reason to give, and give way more than $1 if you can. So keep that in mind. This is the new video, and I see, God, I talk a lot. It's already 7 minutes, but had to make it just to let you know that $1 a month from everybody is not working. They're not doing it. So if you can give more than that, please. So thanks. Keep it up. Share, like, subscribe, tell your friends, send me your videos on corruption, and I'll post it.